A massive ice wall in Greenland collapsed within minutes, and immediately after, a large-scale disaster began spreading beyond control. At 5:42 a.m. on December 27th, Greenland time, along the northern face of the Jakobshavn Glacier, a fracture that had been building for months finally exceeded its structural limit. The entire ice mass became unstable and collapsed into the ocean in less than 4 minutes. This ice block was enormous in scale, approximately 3 miles wide, 0.5 mile thick, and taller than a 60-story building. This was not a small, broken fragment. It was a critical structural section of the glacier. When it detached, the entire front section lost its stability. The cause was not a sudden shock. This section of ice had been weakening for years due to warm ocean water. Temperatures about 2.7 degrees Celsius above normal had been eroding the glacier from below, creating hidden cavities. The surface still appeared intact, but the internal structure had already lost its strength. When the ice mass collapsed into Disco Bay, the impact generated a wave approximately 58 feet high at its origin. This level of energy was outside the range of normal predictions. The wave formed almost instantly and began moving across the ocean at high speed. The initial consequences appeared immediately. The wave started spreading before warning systems could process the data. Seismic stations recorded signals that did not match earthquakes or any standard models. This indicated that the event had already moved beyond existing prediction frameworks from the very beginning. This event has generated a tsunami that is now spreading across the North Atlantic, posing a direct threat to multiple coastal communities. The question now is not what has happened, but where this wave will strike next and how severe the actual damage will be.
Oh shit. Oh no. I got split!
The tsunami did not stop. It spread rapidly across the entire North Atlantic, expanding its impact zone in a very short time. As soon as it formed, coastal areas in Greenland, Iceland, and Newfoundland were directly in its path. Warning systems were activated, but response times ranged from only 6 to 27 minutes. This was not enough time to carry out large-scale evacuations safely. In Iceland, evacuation orders were issued as the wave was already approaching. The low-lying harbor area quickly became overloaded because there was only one road leading out. The sudden surge in traffic caused gridlock within minutes. Residents were forced to leave under intense pressure, with very limited options. In Greenland, located just about 40 miles from the collapse site, warning time was almost non-existent. Residents had only a few minutes to react. Rescue teams had to deploy helicopters immediately after the first alert to support evacuations from the air. By the time the aircraft reached the area, water had already begun flooding the harbors. The initial damage became clear within a few hours. More than 2,100 people were evacuated from danger zones within the first 3 hours. However, 14 coastal structures were destroyed or severely damaged. 3 fishing vessels sank in the harbor. A total of 41 people were injured, and 3 remained missing after the event. The damage was not limited to numbers. Coastal communities that rely entirely on fishing ports and seafood processing facilities lost their core infrastructure. This meant their primary source of income was disrupted immediately. Within the first 12 hours, several areas faced shortages of essential supplies due to disrupted road access. Supply routes were cut off. Aid operations had to rely on air transport. The wave has passed, but its impact continues. And a larger problem is now emerging. The structure of the remaining ice mass behind the collapse has already begun to change.
Ouch! Oh my god!
The wave has passed, but the most dangerous part is not on the surface of the water. It lies in the remaining ice behind the collapse point. The ice mass that just fell was not a loose fragment. It was the section holding back the entire volume of ice behind it. When that section disappeared, the holding force disappeared with it, and the entire ice mass behind it began moving toward the ocean faster. Within 72 hours after the event, measurement instruments recorded a clear increase in the speed of the ice movement. This was not a minor change. It showed that the ice had started moving continuously toward the ocean instead of remaining in place as before. As the speed increases, the ice reaches the breaking edge faster, and the risk of another collapse also rises. The cause of this process had been developing for years. Warm ocean water, about 2.7 degrees Celsius above normal, had been slowly eroding the base of the glacier. The upper surface still appeared intact, but the lower structure had become hollow and weakened. When the front section collapsed, the remaining ice no longer had anything holding it back, and the entire mass began sliding into the ocean more quickly. This process does not happen just once. It can repeat, and each time it will occur faster than before. As the ice moves faster, more ice is discharged into the ocean over a shorter period of time. This means sea levels will not just rise, they will rise at a faster rate. The disaster in Greenland did not end when the tsunami stopped. The real impact is spreading more slowly, but it is more dangerous and harder to detect. That is the rising speed of sea levels following this event. At present, Greenland contributes about 0.7 millimeters per year to global sea level rise. This figure has doubled since 2000. This is not a minor fluctuation, but a clear trend that has persisted for more than 2 decades. As ice moves into the ocean faster, the amount of water added to the ocean also increases. After the event at the Jakobshavn Glacier, this rate is likely to accelerate further. Projections suggest that Greenland's contribution could triple within the next 20 years if the current rate of ice movement continues. This is no longer a distant assumption. It is a direct consequence of what has just happened. If all of Greenland's ice were to melt, global sea levels would rise by approximately 23 feet. This level of change would completely reshape current coastlines. Many major population centers would no longer maintain their current structure. In New York, Lower Manhattan sits less than 10 feet above sea level. In Miami, the average elevation is only about 6 feet. Cities like London and Mumbai are also not designed to handle sea levels several feet higher than today. As sea levels rise, infrastructure in these areas will be directly affected. Roads, drainage systems, electricity, transportation, all depend on current sea levels. When those levels change, the entire system begins to break down. This does not happen in a single day, but once it begins to accelerate, it will move faster than expected. The event in Greenland shows that the rate of change is increasing, and as that rate increases, the time available to prepare becomes shorter. This disaster is not only dangerous because of the size of the wave, it is dangerous because people did not have enough time to react. The warning system was working, but the time it provided was not enough to save everyone. Current tsunami warning systems are mainly designed for undersea earthquakes. When an earthquake occurs, waves spread over a wide area and produce clear signals, allowing sensors to detect them early. However, in the Jakobshavn Glacier event, the wave was generated by a massive block of ice collapsing into the ocean. This formation process is completely different, and the system was not designed for this type of scenario. As a result, the initial data was inaccurate. The wave height was underestimated by about 34%. This margin of error led many areas to believe they had more time than they actually did. In reality, the wave was moving faster than predicted. In many coastal areas, warning times were only about 8 to 14 minutes. In contrast, at least 20 minutes are needed to evacuate safely. This gap of just a few minutes determined whether people were able to get out in time. During the event, several areas were not fully evacuated before the wave arrived. Rescue teams had to operate under extremely dangerous conditions, with water already flooding into residential areas. Rescue efforts took place within a very limited time frame and involved significant risk. This issue is not new. Scientists had previously warned about gaps in the warning system in the Greenland region. However, upgrades had not been implemented. After the event, an international resolution was passed, but it will take about 3 years to implement. Meanwhile, the remaining ice at Jakobshavn is still in direct contact with the same warm ocean water that caused the initial collapse. The fracture line still exists and may continue to expand. If you are living in an affected area or have experienced similar situations, share your story in the comments below. What you witness could be a warning that others have never seen. And if you want to better understand the risks that are quietly increasing around the world, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications.